welcoming me onto your screens or onto your headphones, depending on how you're watching this. I'm Eddie, and this is The Rollback. Folks, I'm here to talk to you today about Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, aka Kang. Quantum Leap? I think that joke works. This thing.
And hoping each time that his next leap will be the leap home.
Yeah, okay, that part. Now roll the title like normal. Thank you. Okay. So the synopsis. Ant-Man and the Wasp find themselves exploring the quantum realm, something that they never thought possible, and exploring and learning new things. And then they find a threat that they could never have imagined if someone had given them some fucking warning. That said, this movie is it's very divisive. Apparently online Marvel fans are having a civil war. Some Marvel purists hate it, some love it. It's odd because also like the Rotten Tomatoes score is I think like 40% and 50%, but the audience review scores in the mid 80s. So it's this weird thing where it's oddly divisive, and I see why, but I don't understand why people are reacting in such an extreme way. But let's talk about the pros first. So first and foremost, at the forefront of this movie, Paul Rudd's Ant-Man, or Scott Lang, is always a darling. He's always the heart and soul of any Ant-Man film that he's in. He's always a standout character. Even in Endgame, with as many characters as there were, let's be honest, Ant-Man or Scott Lang really did stand out, and that's all due to Paul Rudd and his performance. Also, just to add real quick, Kang is a fucking beast. At least as much as they built him up in this movie. He is a monster, he's powerful, but the thing is, he can back it up. When you look at other villains in the MCU, most of them can't. You know, if Captain America and Zemo went toe-to-toe in a fist fight, let's be real, Zemo's getting bodied. Same thing with Ant-Man. If we put the original Iron Man suit toe-to-toe with Albadea Stane, he loses. Like, in most Marvel movies, it's very clear that the hero outpowers the villain. It's just a matter of how are they going to do it or when. In that capacity, Kang feels like a massive threat. Kang feels like a monster, like a tyrant, like someone worthy of being called an enemy of the Avengers. And the only thing to make it crazier is the fact that when he says that there's a more of me, and they kicked me out. It's weird because it's almost like they have like the Hall of Reeds, where like in the MCU, well, in Marvel Comics, fun nerd fact, there's something called the League of Reeds or the Hall of Reed. Anyway, there's a bunch of Reed Richards from a bunch of universes that all work together to try and maintain the universe. It feels like Kang, like they're taking that concept but making it about Kang the Conqueror, but also somehow he's the worst of them. Like he's like, they're so bad that they were like, fuck this guy, he's out, and they kicked him out. It's a little complicated, but nonetheless, he is a threat. And Jonathan Majors brings that physicality to this role. I remember I praised him when I saw the movie The Harder They Fall, and I said Majors is a big deal. This movie solidifies him. I can see why he's the next big bad after Thanos. I mean, unfortunately, you're going to get compared to him. There's no way around it. But when you stack a villain against other guys, Kang is right up there with probably Killmonger and Thanos as far as intimidation, someone that you frankly don't want to run into. The quantum realm is something that should be explored. There's a lot of interesting ideas there from people that exist down there or up there, depending on your perspective. There's a lot of interesting concepts and things and ideas down there. Also some really funny moments. The part that made me just bust out laughing is the part where Scott says, "Is your building alive?" And someone just responds, "Are yours dead?" Like so nonchalantly. Like things like that are hilarious, funny, but also a bit of world building was done. Now, do I think they can flesh out the quantum realm a lot more? Yes. But the quantum realm is kind of like Pandora from Avatar. It's 110% CGI, meaning give them some time. We'll get there, though. We'll get there. So the last two positives I want to talk about are MODOK and Cassie. MODOK, he looks kind of cool. I like the thought of David Cross coming back. I like the idea of a villain returning after his story's already over to come back and haunt the hero. I kind of like that idea. I'll talk a little bit more about MODOK in a second, but lastly, Cassie Lang, the little girl that we grew up with, I guess, going through Avengers and whatnot. She's all grown up now and becoming her own hero, and I kind of like what they're doing with her as far as making her a bit like her father, look out for the little guy. She's the young teen rebellion spirit, you know, that nice marketable, you know, raw. She's Katniss Everdeen. She's Harry standing up to the Ministry. She's all those YA stories. I'm Divergent. She's that character standing up for the little guy. And I mean, it's not new. It's a marketing ploy, but am I against it? Not necessarily. I mean, continue on. I'm sure she'll do great things, especially in either the Young Avengers or the actual Avengers, depending on which way they go with that. Okay. Okay, so the cons. I'm going to start with Cassie, because she was bugging the shit out of me at the beginning. She was bugging the poop out of me in the beginning. I'm sorry, I'm going to use the word shit. Shit. She was bugging the hell out of me, because look, she argues that her dad isn't doing enough to help, which I can understand. But at the same time, two things. One, that's your father. Two, he has seen war. He was there when shit got real. He was in the quantum realm, came out, and you, well, a different actress, were fully grown, and he didn't know if you were alive or dead. You need to understand something. He was there when Thanos, shit got real, people got dusted, people died, there was a huge war, he helped with the time heist. Ant-Man has more than earned his place, and I think he wants to earn his retirement. I think he has earned it. And for you to say you don't care, he literally saved half the universe. And I know that's a joke in the story, but like, cut your dad some slack. If he's tired, he's tired. Damn. Also, Janet Van Dyne. Janet Van Dyne, played by Michelle Pfeiffer. She's played very well in this. But again, in her defense, she has seen some serious shit happen. She doesn't want to talk about it. But I think this is one case where, hey, air out your trauma, go see a therapist. It's a thing that we do nowadays. Talk to somebody and maybe warn them that there's a massive threat down there. Never go into the quantum realm. Don't just be vague about it. Be honest. I don't know, I'm just saying. But Cassie bugged the hell out of me by going at her dad like that. Like, you don't know the shit that he's seen. Calm down. Also, a con that I don't know if a lot of people are talking about, but one that I'll list, there's too much Kang in this story. Like, I understand the oxymoron. I just said how I love how much they build him up, but here's the thing. They built him up at the expense of the film. What I mean by that is, this movie feels more like a setup film for Kang rather than a finale for Ant-Man. Or maybe it's not. Maybe they will do Ant-Man 4 and Hank Pym will die. Not Scott, but Hank, like the old man. Maybe he'll die. Michael Douglas mentioned that he'd be down to return for a fourth film on the condition that he goes, to permanent knees. He gets unalived. Again, I'm not against that. But as far as this being, if this is the last film in the Ant-Man series, it's unfortunate because it was spent to set up another series of films rather than give the character the closure he deserves, or at least wrap up his story arc. I don't know. I think Kang should have been his own thing. Maybe he gets his own movie, or maybe he's just in Kang Dynasty and he's mentioned here in passing. There's other ways to go around doing it. Also, I'll be honest here, it kind of bugs me what they did to MODOK. They made him like a B-tier, I know he's a B-tier villain, but like, they made him this glorified henchman rather than, let's be honest, he's a bit more of a penguin type, He's not the most physical, but he can defend himself, he can handle himself. But more importantly, he has the goons, the wherewithal, the technology to not have to get his hands dirty unless he absolutely has to. In that sense, he's like a penguin. I mean penguin from the Batman, not the flightless bird. Right? No. Okay, so that said, I don't like what they did with MODOK. I don't hate it, I don't love it though. The design was pretty badass, that I will defend. But reimagine this film, if you will. They go into the quantum realm. It turns out David Cross survived. He became MODOK and began to rule over people, and he's the tyrant. And no mention of... Janet Van Dyne can even say, like, oh, no, I love the quantum realm. The people there are nice, or blah, 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 or whatever. And they go, and she discovers, and they all discover that they're all living under a tyrant now, MODOK, who's been dominating them for the past 5-10 years. Or, if you want to splice the time right, You could say MODOK got there, became this huge bad guy, Janet Van Dyne was fighting him, then she got sucked out and the Freedom Fighters are still going and she feels bad because she never went back to help. That's a more complicated story, and she can even say, there were times where I wanted to go back and help, but I never knew if we would come back, and I love my family, and if I have to pick between being there or being here, I pick here. And I understand that doesn't make me a good person because there are people that needed my help. And there's a talk there, there's a conversation there. Done. And again, Kang is great, but this film didn't need him. And this film gets boggled down because of how much he's featured and his story arc overall as a whole. I'm just saying. I'm sorry. Also, a real quick trend, I'm probably going to touch on it in a longer video. Does anyone else notice that this is like the third movie out of 7 films where there's a big like charge scene, like they keep trying to like redo the portal scene where they all rush each other, which you can argue that they did that in Civil War. Why is this any different? But look, all I'm saying is this: Shang-Chi, Wakanda Forever, fair enough, Thor Ragnarok, and this movie. I'm sorry, 4 movies since Avengers Endgame that we've had the big rush. I'd argue Wakanda Forever has earned it because it's a big kingdom versus kingdom film, but the kids have to rush the monsters. I thought that was fun, to be fair, but like, did we have to have that scene? Shang-Chi, when they have the bad guys and the good guys team up against the dark monsters, was that one necessary? And then this one with first Scott leads the charge, and then the rebellion, and then the ants rush in, like, meh. Also, I don't like how Kang was kind of jobbed out. Like, you can't, okay, basic wrestling logic. If you build up a guy, you can't job him out to someone that's lesser than him. If The Undertaker had lost at WrestleMania 9 to the Giant Gonzalez, you could argue that he wouldn't have been as big of a deal. Also, the streak wouldn't have been a thing. The point being is this: you can't have villains lose before they get their big victory. What if Thanos had lost to Captain Marvel, and then we did Infinity War? Would he have been as big of a threat? I don't think so. Or would we have seen him as big of a threat? Would we have respected him? Probably not. Just don't job out Kang. Don't have him in this film. Scott Lang has to win. Don't have Kang in it then. Have him go do his own thing. Be on the side. Go be a conqueror and be a monster in Loki. And have him be briefly mentioned in other sources and other movies. You're like, you know his name? And they're like, yeah, Kang? And people are like, what the fuck? Like, treat him like Voldemort. He who must not be named. You know of the Conqueror? Done! Look, I'm not saying I'm better than any writer that works on this film, but I feel like studio mandates required Kang be in here and he be built up. And I understand, it's just, we lost a great film that could have been great because of it. Maybe that's just me. Also, the CGI was crap. It was. You don't get to debate me. It was crap. Yeah, it was. That said, is this movie as good as Ant-Man 1? No, but it doesn't have to be. It just has to be good on its own. And unfortunately, in that aspect, it kind of failed. I would give this film a C. It's not terrible. It's not boring. It's just a little... I'm still a word from Nikki. Wonga? Like, it's there. It happened. It's not terrible. Jonathan Majors is a beast. But, like, this is going to be no one's favorite MCU film. It's like, if someone said Captain America Civil War was your favorite MCU film, okay, I can see that. Ant-Man 1 is my favorite, okay, I can see that. Ant-Man 3, we didn't get you checked. Anyway, that's it. That's just my review. What did y'all think of it? Comment down below, let us know what you think, what you liked, and what you didn't like. Yeah, that's it. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of The Rollback. Please like and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. We're always trying to grow the channel. That's right. And yeah, go check out the podcast. The link is down below. It's great, especially when I'm there. And simultaneously, as we release this video, the podcast is going to have our Ant-Man review. So go check that out. And yeah, I've been Eddie, and this was The Rollback. See you, everybody.